Alrighty, so VEDA day 25? Oh my gosh, almost done. And it's funny, like at the end of this, it's just getting so many things now that preventing me from doing it, but I'm sticking to it. So I thought I would tell a little story because I was just, I just saw the Jobs movie. Some of you guys have seen my reaction to it, and I thought I would tell you a story about when I saw Steve Jobs when I worked at Apple. So I worked at Apple when I lived in California, and then I moved back here, and I worked at Apple for another couple years, like 3 years. And one time I was selected to go to Cupertino to test the new mobile payment system, which wasn't an iPhone back then because the iPhone hadn't come out, or it had come out, but it wasn't set up to do that because it didn't have apps or anything. So it was like this big clunky thing, and we were sent. A group of us were sent down there to just kind of beta test it. And so one of the first things you do when you're an employee at Apple, you need to get your official badge, which I actually still have, and it's like a little thing you can get into rooms with. And so I had to go do that. And so there was a group of us. There was somebody from my store, and then there was two guys from another store who I'd never met, and they were really kind of, for lack of a better word, like very hipster, very kind of like disapproving looks whenever I would say anything that was a little too fanboy about Apple, because I was excited. I was excited we're going there. We got picked up in a limo, and it was like really kind of extravagant to go to this experience at Apple. And so they were just kind of like, and so I was like, all right, fine, I don't have to be your best friend, whatever. And then when we went to get our badges, um, I was in the back of the line, and I'm sitting there alone, and turn around, and I see Steve Jobs walk by with his face buried into his iPhone. The iPhone had just come out, like maybe a month before, and he was wearing the traditional Steve Jobs clothes, jeans, New Balance, but a white mock turtleneck. So not the black mock turtleneck. So, and I really would have loved to do something, take a picture or whatever, but that's like grounds for getting fired, right? Of course, you don't want to walk up to him and lose your job or whatever, right? So I saw him, and I was just like, oh my God, that was Steve Jobs. And as you guys have probably heard, I was, a super fan, right? So I was like, holy crap, that's Steve Jobs. And then after I got my badge and everything, and then I just mentioned it because I wanted to tell somebody. So I mentioned it to these other guys that were the guys that didn't seem to like me very much, and or like Apple very much, right? It was just kind of like they were just too cool for this whole Apple fan thing. And I was like, oh, I just saw Steve Jobs. And they're like, what? You didn't tell us? Why didn't you say anything? And I'm like, okay, so now all of a sudden you're Apple fans, and just like 5 minutes ago you didn't give a crap if I was talking about being excited to be at Cupertino. So I thought that was funny, but other than that, that was my little time seeing him. I saw Phil Schiller in the cafeteria one time, and I think I saw Eddie Q at some point. And yeah, I saw like kind of various people just around that campus. And I've been to Apple campus. I had been there before, just as like because I just got hired, so I could go into the campus, and I went there with my friend. And then what else? I went there again not that long ago, like last year, with the ICEO, and took a picture of the ICEO next to the front sign. So, but that was my little Steve Jobs encounter. I'm glad that I had it. It's kind of like a rare thing to actually go to Apple and be inside of the headquarters and see the man. Even though I didn't get to talk to him or anything, but still cool. And the white turtleneck is just kind of a funny thing. So, anyway, I thought that you guys might enjoy that, and I will see you tomorrow.